Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 Kalterkrieg. It is time for a brand new series in the Kalterkrieg mod, the Cold War Kaiserreich mod. So we have just finished up yesterday our Germany campaign, which ended with a lot more nuclear weapons than I was originally anticipating. But we're going to go and shift our focus across the pond. The good old Canadians, who are the other major power block in the mod. And my main goal for this campaign, because when we played Germany, there was never even a second where Canada was even close to overtaking the Reichspakt in terms of global influence. My goal is to have at least even 1 point in favor of us. We're already at a disadvantage because Germany's won the Second Weltkrieg. Germany is going to get a nuclear dominance very, very soon. They're gonna have more. They have a better economy. They're gonna have more allies in international standing. They're gonna be spending more money than we are. It's really going to be, also CON doesn't do anything quite yet. It's going to be an uphill battle. I believe in us, but it is going to be difficult, to say the least. So we have 51 troops. It's actually kind of incredible. So where do I want to station these 51 troops? Let's break you into like a few smaller armies. I think this seems good. We will throw you underneath a field marshal. Let's go with Bernard Montgomery. So where do we want to station these troops? We're going to put one on the border with New England. I think that seems fair. We're going to put one on the border with the American Union States. But not like that. One on the border American Union State, like so. Put all those troops here. For this 13 stack, we are going to have you on the border with the Great Lakes government. But I don't want troops in these territories. My reasoning for that is that when the Third American Civil War does break out, New England, Great Lakes, they're actually going to leave our faction. So, no reason for them to be actually deployed there directly. And then Purple Army, I think, is going to be a little bit more interesting. I'm thinking I just ship you immediately over to the United Kingdom. But I'm trying to think, like, where else would you be? I mean, it'd be nice to keep you here, for sure. But I think I just station... Oh, there's already troops actually already here. I think we just station you in London. And actually, if that's the case, how many troops are here? 27. So let's keep half of you then. You guys will be the ones that are just going to stay in England for now. You guys are going to go into Purple Army and then some into these other armies like so. I guess we just kind of break you. That should be okay. I mean, it's not like perfectly even, but that's fine. For our research, what do we want? Well, I think the first thing we need to do is that we do not have the bomb. We need to have the bomb. So we're going to go into secret weapons. We are going to develop the atomic bomb. 239 days is not too bad. Next up, it is 48. We'll go for construction. We'll go factory output. We will go for... Do we have research speed bonus? Yes. So we'll get all those going immediately. For our civilian factories, we basically have none. 19 of consumers. We're at 23% goods. 37 factories right now for our military, which actually is quite a lot. But first things first, we need to build a nuclear reactor so we can actually start building nuclear weapons. I don't think we have... You can only do one per... Yeah. So I guess we'll build one nuclear reactor in Eastern Ontario. I think is that the area with our best... Yes, best infrastructure. So we'll get that going. It'll be done on May of 52. We're going to need some more factories for that sooner rather than later. For our dockyards, this is... I was actually looking pretty good. I'm happy with those numbers. For our infantry equipment, we'll go 5, 2, 3. 2, 3, 5, 5. And then probably a 5 for the rest of you as well. I think seems more than okay. It's going to take a while for us, of course, to get all these military factories. But we should get there eventually. So for the House of Commons, currently... We have the CCF, the Radical Wing. We have the CCF, the Moderates, which is the Common Cooperative Fund. What are they called? Cooperative Commonwealth Federation, which are basically the proto-NDP. We've got the Conservatives, we got the Unionists, and then we have the two sides of the Liberals. We got the more conservative Liberals, and we have the more liberal, more left-wing Liberals, I guess you could say. Currently, we have a decent majority, so I'm happy to see that. We got the Hawaiian Mandate. Owing to our unique circumstances in the Hawaiian Mandate, various governments and interest groups vie for power to ensure a variety of things. Some merely desire riches, others desire political tools and power, and some desire the ultimate prize of the island themselves. Each of these indigenous groups can be defined by several broad categories. These categories themselves subdivide into several groups, which all have their own interest. Mandate stability represents the level of overall stability present in Hawaiian society and the mandate government. Currently at 52%. We have 12.9% support. 1% for the socialist. Japan is at like 30%, which is a little bit much. And then, so basically, it's between the Americans and the Japanese. We don't, you know what, we don't need to see this. At least not right now. So let's, first things first, deploy, let's encourage Hawaiian investment, actually. Boost our support a little bit. It's going to cost us 2 civilian factories, but I think that's kind of okay for now. Get our Army and Navy experience. And let's look at our national spirits. So we got American occupation. Negative 20% political power gain. Negative 50% non-core manpower. 30% consumer goods factory factor. Negative 20% stability. Negative 10% war support. Because we're occupying a lot of American territory. And it's very expensive to do that. Because again, Canada is not a big country. You know, we have a bit of a population boom due to the revolution in Britain, but I'm sure all those people are going to start slowly flowing their way back to the British Isles. Governmental transition. While the exiles came, they all came at once. And when they came, they decided how we ran our government wasn't good enough. They tore apart our political structure, the structure they created for us, and replaced it with theirs. So that's political power gain minus 2.5. Negative 10% stability, unsettled foreign policy. So basically, we're in a very weird state right now, right? The British exiles are currently going back to the UK. So our whole government is a little bit in flux at the moment. Like, nobody really knows what the hell is happening. We will deploy our aircraft, because this might constitute more money for our score. And for you... How much equipment do I have in storage? 1.2k? You know what? Sure. Send it immediately to the municipal police. We have no natural resource at all. Do we have any subjects? We do. Britain and the Great Lakes are both subjects of ours. We could try to get some resources off of them, but I have, like, no factories. So it's actually, like, really, really difficult for us to do anything. Oh, okay, never mind. This actually is updated. Fantastic. So you got a few more. So this will now be done in 1950, so 2 years. Which, I mean, is better, but not by much. Go 1 civilian factory there. We'll go like so. Okay, it looks like these numbers are actually slowly figuring themselves out. Oh, no, it's because we're actually trading some stuff. Plus 24. Excellent. That's actually really, really good. What do we have that they're trading away? A bit of steel. Yeah, I mean, we do actually produce a lot of oil. That's one thing. Canada does have a surprise amount of oil, so we can trade that away. Trading away the aluminum. So I guess it all makes sense. So right now, we are the leader of the Entente. We're not the Accord quite yet. And who's in the Entente? Canada, the UK, New England, Italy, Australia, France, Great Lakes, South Africa, Portugal, Greece, Cuba. I mean, there's a lot of people in here. And then Ceylon, Norway, Venezuela, Spain, and the Pacific States are all kind of on the peripheries at the moment. Okay, so let's get started. I mean, we're about halfway through the episode, but honestly, that's actually a pretty... I'd say it's actually a pretty quick setup. I don't know exactly how you want to play this out. I'm thinking we might just go market liberal. We might just stick with the liberals. Again, we don't really go market liberal too often in any of our campaigns, so we might stick with liberal. Maybe we'll go for the conservatives. I don't want to go NDP because that is what the AI did in our Germany campaign, so I don't want to just follow that. And for the unionist, I'm not feeling that way either, because we might want to do more conservative run when we do Danubia or New England. Anyways, the war's over. A feeling relief and of triumph is present over the Dominion of Canada. After 7 long years of bloodshed, of struggle, of turning back the syndicalist tides in Europe and reclaiming our homeland, the Entente and its allies emerged victorious in the most destructive of conflicts. As soon as the news of Mosley's death and the surrender of the Marxist regime came in, an eruption of celebration swept our country. Every Canadian, from the big cities to the little towns and villages in the interior provinces, have been seized by this wave, save for some sections of the French community, who are simply relieved that the war is over. Soldiers are already beginning returning from the war-torn Europe, and port cities receiving them have been overrun by their families, who have been aching for to see their sons ever since Canada has entered the Kalterkrieg. So first thing, what do we have? You are the election of next year. Does this say when it is? June. And then this is all for, like, hey, this is when you've actually have chosen a a president. Ratify the accord, ratify the accord. A new era requires ratify the accord and start crown negotiations. So we're basically just stuck to this little corner until we get you and you finished. So if that is the case, where do we want to start off with? I mean, more political power would be nice. Conservatives become slightly less popular. Let us send home the lords first. If we're going to go liberal, which is I think what we're going to do, probably stick with Mackenzie King, who has been in power for what, since like 1932? Or, yeah. Something like that. Like, I know, you know, Mackenzie King was big, he was the prime minister for like the entirety of the Great Depression and World War II, so it makes sense that he would be here. 0.1, 13.2%. It's a little disappointing that that Japan has so much influence in Hawaii. I mean, it makes sense because they are like the one power that's actually able to really project any influence in the Pacific. Like, what do we have? Do we have any colonial possessions? Like, we have Australia and New Zealand. So we have, like, some allies in the Pacific, but they're not really doing gangbusters, to say the least. Yeah, so our troops here are looking good. And, yeah, so what are we really most interested in? We have the Guangzhou government down here in the south. We do want to support them when the war begins in China, because... I just want to make sure we can beat Germany. That's all I care about. Even if it's by a single point. I just want to... Okay, Danube has the A-bomb. I just want to be slightly better than the Germans. And I don't think that's asking too much. Let's send you to spy in New Orleans. Let's get our cryptology going. I noticed that Germany, I think, had like not half of these, but they had like 5 or 6 of these already filled out by the time we began. So it's a little disappointing that we are not in that same situation. Steel. How many factories do we have? We're back down. 29 for trade. We put a lot more in military spending because we deployed those planes. Consumer goods at 26. Well, I mean, we need to build stuff. So even if we don't go for a full 50, let's go for 42 on you. No subjects have any of these materials. Chromium. We have a little bit from Sierra Leone. So let's get just one factory in you. We'll get one factory in Ceylon, because Ceylon is a friendly state. And sending the Lord's home. Almost 30 years ago in 1925, syndicalist revolutionaries took control of the home isles. The members of the ruling class weren't caught and hanged, who weren't caught and hanged quickly fled to Canada, the Empire's most loyal dominion. The lords from the House of Lords soon invaded the Canadian government, disrupting the Senate to no end. Today, these lords are going home. With the birthright taken from the syndicalist menace, these men are no longer needed to reside in the government of Canada. The boats and planes are arriving to take these men to their homes, so that our Canadian home can be governed by our own people. Already rallies for support and the dream of an all-Canadian government have reached for our people, and they rejoice. The question is now whether to return to the old Senate system or do something new. Time will tell. Well, remake the Senate. It's a good question, because the Canadian Senate is a little strange, right? Canadian Senate, you are appointed for life. When you're chosen by the Prime Minister, you're appointed for life. There's no elections for the Canadian Senate. So you might want to, have it be an elected house. But it doesn't have, I don't think it has that much power. Like, it's just significantly less powerful than, like, the American Senate, for example. Like, I think it's similar kind of to the House of Lords in the UK, where, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe the House of Lords is able to reject the bill outright. Like, I think they used to be able to, back in, like, the 1800s, but then I think Labour got rid of that at some point. Correct me if I'm wrong, which I might be. Quarterly growth is set to 0.465. I mean, that sounds pretty bad, because I'm so used to how good we were doing as Germany. Those numbers are looking kind of pathetic. How many guns do we produce? What's our numbers here? 3,000. We make 35 guns a day, 4 anti-tank rifles a day, 2 artillery, 1 support, 1 tank a day, or 1 mechanized a day. We just need more factories. That's really our issue here. But I will send more troops to Hawaii. So I want to increase foreign offices. Authoritarian Democrats is the Mandate government. But the thing is, I don't know what we're going to need a political power for. We might really, really, really need it. So I'm not going to send that to Hawaii right now. It probably is not worth it. For our first decryption, we're going to decrypt the American Union State. They're the country we're most likely to get into a direct war with. So I think that makes sense. Next up, national focus. We will conservative citizenship or a progressive citizenship. We'll remake the Senate. Paul Martin Sr. Citizenship Act. Sometimes it's easy to forget that Canada is still a relatively young country. After achieving the outstanding reputation in the First World War, where Canadians were widely regarded as among the best of the Allied troops, and after the remarkable, bloody, and critical achievements in the Reclamation War, and spite of some of those enormous national contributions, Canadians were still considered British subjects. Subjects of the country and monarch that fell to tyranny, whose king and establishment were housed out of goodwill, and whose country were liberated for them to return to. It was Cabinet Minister Paul Martin Sr. who saw our desire to be a distinct nationality. After the visit to the Canadian military ceremony on the Isle of Man, where so many Canadians died for freedom, Martin had rallied public support for a distinct citizenship. It was Martin who convinced the king that indeed that our position in the world were greater than to being a subject. The drafting of this act marks the beginning of a new era in the Canadian project. We strengthen our position as the sovereign nation and a growing desire to establish symbols of an independent nationhood. A nationhood which, with people who are growing a sense of national identity. Although all of us, except for a minority of British aristocrats, agree that our distinct nationality, we have yet to decide on a critical part of the citizenship that will have ramifications for our identity. Aside from Canadians, who too can be Canadian? A truly monumental process. It looks like we're going to be getting a lot of events regarding that. Expand Home Office. Marseille has elected a liberal. Which, I mean, if we're going to go liberal, I'm happy to see liberals in France as well. Of a strong liberal international. UAP is one in Australia, which is the conservatives, I would imagine. Social conservative, yeah, nothing super surprising there. Also, I guess we should just draw out our offensive lines, huh? Again, not that we're going to be invading New England. It's just a just-in-case scenario. Blue, let's draw your line out. And we probably do want to start trading up some more units. 20 combat with. There's nobody actually in here. Logistics, headquarters. They did change headquarters. I know that was in the patch notes. They made it significantly less powerful. Like, it was pretty good. So let's go 2 infantry, 2 motorized, 2 mechanized. Follow that up with 1 armor division. Do we want a cavalry? We'll get 2 cavalry divisions. Airborne Marine. Or not a Special Forces cap. That should be fine. I mean, I know we're going to be missing some production equipment. We're not making any tanks. Oh, you want light tanks? Light tanks are kind of like dog shit, aren't they? Modern tank, modern tank. Where are the light tanks coming in from? Are they in one of these? It's you. The Armored Recon Company wants some light tanks. Well, I don't want to make light tanks if I can avoid it. We go cavalry, but that's going to be a little bit worse. Is there anything actually good? Support artillery. Again, I don't want... I mean, our soft attack goes up by a pretty good amount. I just don't want to have to deal with the light tanks. I don't want to build them. 3273 for support rocket. Breakthrough goes down, not by a ton. How much artillery piece do we have? We don't have enough for this, but you know what? We're going to save this up anyways. Because again, I don't want to build light tanks. The Treaty of Shimoli has been signed. That is between China and Japan. Again, because we're playing this now, this is the second time around. There's going to be significantly less worldly events that we need to read out because, Nubia has the A-bomb, we already know. The treaty between Japan and Germany and China, we already know about. So we don't need to read those a second time. Okay, Maurice Richard, riots cause havoc. Today, the Montreal Canadiens star player Maurice "Rocket" Richard was suspended for the remainder of the hockey season following his fight with linemen of the opposing team. The decision led to unrest from a large portion of French Canadians who believe it was another example of the NHL favoring English Canadians over the French-speaking compatriots. In an ill-fated attempt to smooth over relations, the NHL commissioner attended the Canadiens' next game, which ultimately failed. Over 10,000 protesters took to the streets in anger over his suspension and general discrimination against the Quebecois. While a 1,000-strong riot was never good, the issue here lies not in the anger over hockey rules, but rather a general Quebecois unrest. Many of our policy experts are claiming that this could be the catalyst for further anti-English sentiment in French Canada, and potentially even violent resistance. If we do not wish to have a national crisis on our hands, we must choose our next moves very carefully. People are taking hockey extremely seriously, which is not a surprise. Prime Minister McKenzie King has shown his approval of Paul Martin Sr.'s Citizen Act during his speech in Ottawa today. To a joyful crowd in the capital still celebrating Canada's victory in the Second Kalterkrieg, the news that Canada would prioritize Canadian citizenship over British subjectitude only served to increase the fanfare. With widespread public support and the Prime Minister's blessing, there is little doubt that the bill will pass in Parliament. However, there are doubts over some specifics on the bill, and opposition parties are pressing for their own goals to be met in the bill. Details on who specifically gets citizenship and how immigration can be prioritized are, unfortunately, beginning to start debate in Parliament. While the Liberal Party staunchly supports the bill, a choice must be made on how radical the bill will really be. Okay, so the Social Democrats are going to pose an amendment. We'll see if that's something that we even want to look at. We got the CCF. I'm surprised, actually. I feel like the CCF is pretty popular. They have more seats than I was expecting. So they have 28 plus 8, so they have 36 seats. Which seems really good, but I guess I don't know how many seats the CCF had in the 40s. But that seems like a lot. As expected, the CCF has proposed an amendment which would radically alter the way Canadian immigration and citizenship is handled. The amendment would open up and encourage immigration from anyone in the world, truly making Canada the home of the free, for everyone. The Citizenship Act would thus allow anyone of any nationality to gain Canadian citizenship in a fair and equal fashion. Thus, it would be more likely to lead to overall increase in immigration and a larger Canadian population overall. However, Conservatives staunchly oppose this amendment and stated they will oppose it in any way that they can. Leading Conservatives mentioned that the amendment is too radical and that Citizen Act should prioritize granting citizens to those of British and Anglo descent, not just any nationality. They claim the CCF's proposed amendment would destabilize Canada in the future and muddle the Canadian identity. The Liberal Party is currently divided between supporting the amendment and opposing it. The groups on both sides are been trying to convince Prime Minister King to public support their interest in Parliament. This deadlock has been straightened out before the further delays to the passing of the Citizenship Act. Let us, more conservative Anglo-centric Canadian Citizenship Act. Well, here's the thing. If we want to have an economy that's going to rival Germany, we need a big population. How many people are in Canada right now? 19 million. Is there a way that I can see how many people are living in Germany? Manpower. The answer is no. At least not through this. But, you know, if we click on, like, Berlin has 4 million, 3 million. So this is already 10 million there. So we're probably looking at, there's another 4. Like, our most populated state is probably Toronto at 3.15. So, or Montreal actually might be. Either way, Germany's a lot bigger. We will allow the amendment to go through, which presumably is going to make the CCF a little bit more popular, but it also makes the Liberals more popular as well, which I'm happy to do. We'll get that going. Invite the world. So stability goes down, but again, it's fine. The Tories have pressed forward. It's actually going to be a longer episode. I kind of didn't see the time. The Tories have pressed forward with their challenge to the CCF's proposed amendment on the Citizenship Act pertaining to immigration. While once was expected to be an act that would quickly fly through Parliament, has now appeared to become a polarizing bill. The Liberals are in a position to either press on the CCF's amendment or listen to the Tories to remove the amendment from the bill entirely. Prime Minister McKenzie King has publicly supported the amendment, but may be willing to roll back his support to regain the support of the Conservative Party. While the Prime Minister is not truly fully on one side, the party itself remains divided on the issue. And there is a firm need from leadership to direct the party one way or the other. The party whip is ready to hear the Prime Minister King for his advice on where to lead the party on this important decisive vote. Yes, so Canada is a free nation. And we want to kind of counter ourselves to what Germany is. Because Germany is an autocratic state. They are paternal autocrat. There's a chance for, military dictatorship going on there. Second red general. I think Zentrum is about as liberal as Germany can get. And even then, they're not that not that great. Also, I have to end this episode after this one finishes. The Canadian Citizenship Act has been passed to much fanfare in Parliament and bipartisan support from the Liberal Party and the CCF. A radical act, the Canadian Citizenship Act has amended pertaining to the protection of the immigration from anywhere in the world, regardless of nationality. This is sure to lead in a jump of immigration to Canada, while some conservatives are grumbling into the radical immigration bill that would lead to a loss of Canadian values and morals. Most Canadians have ignored these complaints, having to finally have their own form of citizenship. This act seems to show Canada is firmly entering a new liberal age, free of prejudice and providing a home to all. But with that, it's going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So if you enjoyed, put a thumbs up. Not enjoyed, you can always thumb down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.